Mother Nature's been doing it quite handily here the last couple of days with temperatures yesterday into the mid-60s. Mike Barrett is in the studio. We're going to talk insurance. First off, Mike.
Yes.
How much snow have you got left in your yard?
Actually, we have quite a bit in some spots of our yard, but it's dwindling. It's on its last leg, which I'm very thankful for. So
yeah, if you get a sec, head to my Facebook page because, boy, our backyard has changed quite a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So one part of my yard doesn't get as much sun, a lot of trees, so it's still holding the snow pretty good. But the section that's in the sunlight, yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, I literally watched the snowpack go down over the weekend. Now, folks, this isn't just random. We're going to tie this into our chat this week here. All right, so spring is here. Yesterday, as I was leaving work and running some errands, I saw a couple of fellas out, and what I'm going to guess was their first motorcycle ride of the season.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This morning, I'm downstairs taking a weather observation, and riding a motorcycle at 32 degrees doesn't sound like fun to me. But I heard and saw a couple of motorcycles coming through town. We're going into this, folks, with that transition where a lot of folks switch their vehicles over.
Absolutely. Seasonal time. And actually, you talk about, a lot of people say, oh, I can't believe they're riding their motorcycles. It's 30, 40 degrees out. These are probably the same individuals that have been riding snowmobiles in the 20 and 30 below zero. So for them, it's downright balmy. They're just on a different power vehicle at that point. But yeah, it is seasonal vehicle time. So it's time to think about getting coverage, making sure you have proper coverage on your vehicles that are for this time of year, your motorcycles. Now, ATVs used to be thought somewhat of a seasonal thing. Those are all year round now. So it's really just the motorcycles, the camper trailers, the motorhomes, the fifth wheels, classic cars that maybe you don't have with a J.C. Taylor or a Haggerty or Grundy or one of the like that offer year annual policies. Maybe you have it on another policy where you reduce coverage while it's in storage. You know, a lot of people have nice vehicles like Corvettes, Mustangs, of any year, make and model, or year, I should say, not make and model, but you know what I mean? Nice cars that get reduced coverage in the wintertime because they're stored. Now they're probably itching to get them out. Here's a very important thing to remember, though. With the seasonal vehicles, if you call and reduce coverage and someone's out there going, what the heck is he talking about with reducing coverage? With campers and all these things, if you don't have a loan on it, you can reduce the coverage to just comprehensive only, which is pretty inexpensive while it's in storage. And it's going to cover it for fire and theft and vandalism. And, it's going to if you get a mouse inside many times, that's going to be covered too. So that's going to be great coverage to have while it's stored. But now that you're looking to put it back on the road, you got to reinstate the full stuff. So you got to get the liability back on, the collision back on, and all that. You cannot retroactively restore that coverage. So you can't take that vehicle out, hit the road, get in an accident, realize that you didn't get the coverage back on and call it in. It doesn't work that way. So you're going to want to make sure that you're making the call before that thing gets turned over and pulled out of the driveway.
So a lot of folks will, when they put them in storage, they put that, they'll either put a tarp on it or they'll put that, real fine heat shrunk type stuff on there.
Yeah.
And they got to make plans. They want to get in there and see if a mouse has gotten in.
Yeah, check it all out.
Which they do at my place.
Oh, yeah, they do everywhere.
So you're planning ahead. So, honey, what do you say we get ready to take the camper out? Oh, what do you say, first weekend in June?
Yeah.
Call the insurance company when you have the conversation.
Absolutely. Because, with campers especially, campers aren't going to have liability because they're going to be extending from the tow vehicle, but many people will reduce the collision coverage and take that off for the season. Well, now if that thing's back on the road and subject to the possibility of being involved in a collision, boy, you're going to want to make sure that coverage is on there before you see road time. But the bigger thing, of course, is the liability because you can't legally drive on the roads without it. So you could find yourself in a precarious situation where maybe all of a sudden you need a financial responsibility filing, or an SR22 is what's called, because you failed to carry liability on a vehicle that you now have on the road. So have a little forethought on what you've done. And people who do this know what they're doing, right? But maybe there's people out there that didn't realize they had the option of reducing and putting back on. Look at the option, examine it, see if it's right for you, and just be prepared because, come on, we're all excited. All right, it's getting warm out there. The birds are chirping. You're playing music that makes me want to put the window down. This is a time of the year where you have a lot going on. Try to make sure reinstating coverage is part of that process.
All right, so we're talking, at least our main subject matter is seasonal vehicles here. I have a question for you, and I hope this doesn't put you on the spot, which we have yet been able to do. So we see a lot of folks that get these like Sprinter vans. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The Mercedes Sprinter vans. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and Freightliner everybody has them. But we see a lot of folks that are quote unquote living in the van life, or they will buy that as a van.
Uh-huh.
And then they change its use. You see where I'm going with this here?
Yeah.
How does that impact? Because it's that time of year. We're seeing more and more of these big vans around
Absolutely.
from out of state. How does that impact insurance?
Interestingly enough, for a Sprinter van or a converted van like that, it's not all that difficult. I mean, companies might have some level of trepidation with it being a full-time, quote-unquote, residence, I guess. But there are opportunities. There are companies out there that you can find coverage for. We've been very successful in doing that with a number of our carriers, like Progressive and Foremost. I believe American Modern has a market for that as well. So it's easy to address. I'll tell you that if you ever wanted to give me a stumbling block, ask me to try to quote a bus that's been converted into a camper. Oh, my. I have yet to find a market for that.
Well, that's what I was kind of basically the same theme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Because
school bus converted to a living quarters is nearly impossible, or a commercial bus. I've yet to find good markets for those.
is there a line where any of your carriers would consider an RV different from a van?
It's guess it's the living quarters, really. I mean,
Okay.
you know, if there's living quarters in there, you can always. I mean, especially if you're looking at the idea of having it just as a van. You know, let's talk about it. A van's going to have a VIN. That VIN's going to give the company the verification of what it is, which is a year, make, and model. It's not going to be accounting for any living quarters within. So if you've customized this thing and rebuilt and built it up, you now have additional value put into that unit. You should be accounting for it, and probably an RV or a camper policy would make more sense.
Well, and that kind of reflects on our conversation last week or the week prior to that when we talked about adding a solar array to your property. It changes the value of it.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point with that, though. I mean, a lot of people do customizations to their vehicles and don't account for it. And, you know, some companies do have some built-in limits. I know a lot of motorcycle policies will build in about $3,000 of automatic equipment coverage for added attachments and customizations. But if you're going way above and beyond custom paint and all that, you really should be specifically insuring it.
Well, and so as we do get ready to wrap this up here, so our listeners understand, and we've done this over the past couple of years, say you've got a 1968 Mustang, okay, the book value on it ain't a lot.
No.
And you dump $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in it, doesn't automatically mean the insurance company's going to insure it for that.
Exactly. Or a standard regular auto policy, not your place. You need to be on a specialized policy, or even in a regular auto policy with a specialized rate on it, which is possible. A lot of companies do have that. You need to do Antique or Classic and account for all that value.
So what we did there purposely was there are so many reasons now to contact you. How can they do it?
Sure. You can give us a call, 748-5224. Find us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com. Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency. And real quick, Jeff, tomorrow.
I was going to say, we got 30 seconds.
Yeah. We have a presentation of a large check tomorrow for NEK Can. It'll be taking place at our office. It's nothing formal other than just getting a bunch of folks together for a photo op. But a bunch of the committee members will be there, and representatives from Safeco will be there, handing over a big $10,000 check to NEK Can. So.
Well, and the reason they got that check, because more than 500 people voted for Barrett Insurance. You told us at last count.
It was well over 700.
That's
so
awesome.
Thank you.
NEK Can.
Humbling. So.
That's right. The Northeast Kingdom Can. Back to the music with Sabrina Carpenter, Magic in the Morning.